Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning and welcome to the program. The program. So, good morning and hi, how are you? Welcome. Yeah, is it Eclipse Day? I guess it is, isn't it? I guess today is the big eclipse day. So, welcome to it. Just I hope you brought your rune stones and all the secret stuff that we need today for it's good stuff. All right. Well, what do we have on the agenda for today? Well, we've got a couple things, and we're hoping that it works out. We had a last-minute addition to the program this morning, and we're hoping that it all gels out. Spike Cohen is supposed to be joining us this morning. He, of course, was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party in 2020. And he is he's going to hopefully be joining us here this morning as we talk about the world and politics and everything else. So fingers crossed. We're going to be joined by Spike here in just a little bit, and we'll hopefully have some good conversations. I spent the weekend over at the not the weekend. I spent a part of the day on Saturday. I guess I should clarify that. I wasn't there the whole weekend. At the Libertarian Party convention out in the Matsu, and that was a fun time. We had a good time. Good discussions. Good. Good chats and everything else, and I'll rehash some of the things that I talked about out there, if you want to, here this morning as we go through and discuss that stuff. We're also going to cover all the stuff that's coming out of the legislature this morning, including the latest on the House Finance. They have now adopted a draft operating budget that includes a nearly $2,300 PFD. It's out. It's from the House, from Finance anyway. Still got to go to the full floor, and still got to. It's going to change. Let's just put it that way. It's going to change. It is what it is. But they have, we'll see we'll see what it looks like by the time it's all said and done this morning. I'm sorry, Spike's people are trying to call me while I'm on the air. Okay. We'll see what happens with that. But it was it's an interesting situation. The biggest single piece is again the permanent fund dividend. The KTUU is reporting that it's a PFD worth $2,272, but James Brooks over at the Alaska Beacon is reporting $2,700 per recipient. Now, I don't know if that includes some energy relief one-time payments or what exactly is included in the the second version of that. But we'll see what we'll talk about some of the things and some of the changes and some of the stuff that goes through that here this morning. We're also going to be talking about an article that came out to me here this morning. I'm sorry, I'm sending your. I'm sorry, I was doing 13 things. You know how that goes. Also, an article written by a place called, which I'd never seen before, place called the Center Square. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. Kim Jarrett of the Center Square. Now, I'd never heard about it, but they had a very interesting. Article about Julie Colomb making a big stink about a bunch of unfunded positions, which I'm very happy about the fact that she made a stink about this. And it is, it's an interesting piece. And I think we should all go out and take a look at it. I'm going to post a link up for it in the chat room. And we'll see what we can go through with that, because the whole thing was several $1 million, $44 million overall, $44 million overall in savings, and yet it got shot full of holes. And I'm not exactly sure what was the justification for it. Not exactly sure what was the justification for meeting it down, but we'll talk about that one as well this morning. And of course, let's see what else. His subscription-based healthcare that got through. And we could talk about the big walkout. You heard about that, I'm sure. It was a made-for-media moment. The big walkout of all the high school students who they're just demanding that you listen to their fresh-faced voices because they know what's best for them. I've got nothing. I've got nothing to say about any of this kind of stuff, except for why would we listen to a bunch of high school students who have no real world life experiences and understand that, they're basically being used for political cannon fodder. That's what it was. The political cannon fodder. That's how it all goes. All right. So I see Spike Cohen is attempting to gain access here to the green room. So we're going to be talking to him here in just a moment. And we'll go on there. We'll see what goes on there here when Spike joins us here in just a second. They were calling it the BAS, says Kevin. The students were calling it the BAS, not the BSA, the BAS. I mean, yes, again, Nothing is more offensive to me than a bunch of children being used as tools, political tools. And that's what we saw in most of these debates. I think most of these people were just excited about getting out of getting out of school, get just a chance to get out of class and go squawk about something. Fund our future, take a stand for education, red for ed, WTF, where's the funding? Most of this was out of Juneau Douglas High School. There was a couple, there were a couple pictures taken from some of the local schools in the Anchorage area. But I mean, come on, this is, and what Calvin Schregge is quoted as saying, it's democracy in action, students having a say in their own future and their own education. Well, I mean, these are the same people that can't vote, can't buy smokes, can't get a tattoo, although they can change their gender at that point. So maybe you're right. Maybe they are political powerhouses with a lot of know-how and understandings of the ramifications of what's going on. Maybe that's the truth. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. I mean, that's the thing. I love kids. Don't get me wrong, but I am not putting my long-term planning in the hands of kids. I mean, it's just, again, they don't have the life experience needed to make a lot of those decisions. But it makes a great photo op, right? I mean, it makes a fantastic photo op. That's what they love. That's what they love. And, they can't own a gun. They can't get a tattoo. They can't buy beer. They can't, get a pack of smokes. They can't vote. They can't do a ton of stuff because why? Well, because they're not old enough to make those decisions. The only decisions that they can make is to change their gender and apparently bug out of school to go protest for more money for the public schools, which I wonder who planted that seed. I wonder who told them that would be a good idea. I mean, I'm just asking, just asking what that would be. But yeah, it happened at schools across the country. But if you look at the way the photos, this is what cracks me up. If you look at the way that the photos are taken, for the most part, it's a pretty small group of folks. But the way they're taken, you'd be like, oh man, there's thousands of students out there, and they all came up with these secret signs that the NEA provided. How did they come up with those signs? The pre-printed signs. How did they come up with those signs? Oh, maybe we'll never know. I guess we'll never know the truth about that. All right. Spike Cohen is going to be joining us here in just a hot second. We're going to be getting in with him and getting that squared away. And we'll be chatting with him on the other side of this brief yet important commercial announcement. That's what we've got going on. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return on the other side right after these messages.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free, like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Well, it's Monday, obviously. Let's continue on here. I see Spike Cohen is in the guest room, but I've got no picture and no audio from Spike. Let me see if I can.
Hi, I'm
Spike?
here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you. No video today?
No, I was told this was audio only. I apologize.
Well, no problem. No problem. That's okay. We could still make that work. Yeah, we could still get that going on. All right, so let me let me fix that for you. Boom. Okay. Now we've got you on there and I'm the only one on the screen. Okay. All right, you ready to chit chat here in just a second? We're in the commercial break and we'll be right back to you.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay, good. I'll put you back on the mute screen there and we will be right back to you. So Spike Cohen will be our guest here, which means I should probably build him a little bit of a page here so we know who we're talking about. Let's get that going on. So how was your guys' weekend? Yeah, I got to tell you, mine was interesting. I had a good time at the Libertarian convention this weekend over at the Matsu. That was a good conversation, good discussions. It was well done, and I really enjoyed it. But the rest of the weekend was bit of a poo parade, So we could talk about that here as we go through. Let me make sure here that I got all this squared. Oh man, do not drag everything else around. All right. I'm trying to build Spike a page here real quick. Little bit of a dealio. Okay. Okay. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. I think we got it all squared away. And there we go. All right. I built the page. We got it all. Look at that. It's all beautiful. Okay. Brian says he got his taxes done this week. Man, that's the weekend from hell, isn't it? Anytime where you have to go work on your, go finish your taxes, that's definitely not a fun time here as we get things through. All right, went car shopping, says Tawny. Disappointing because you guys lost your car in that accident here this couple weekends ago. Yeah, it's been an interesting time. I tried to help my son buy a car here recently, and the market was not cooperating. Let's just put it that way. The market was not cooperating in the way that I would love to. I would have hoped that it would have been better, but it didn't work out quite that way. So yeah, a little disappointing out in the world out there right now. Spring is sprung, Sunny and Homer. Day drinking? What? Terry's like, day drinking? I wish I was day drinking. That's it, What's the old Leslie Nielsen? I chose the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. Chose the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. It's a Monday. It feels that way. Okay. So we are about 30 seconds from returning to the radio, and we will jump back into this here in just a hot minute. I don't know what was going on with... Okay. All right. We're all good. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. I want you to like and share, subscribe, ring the bell, tell all your friends. Spike Cohen's in the chat. We're ready to get things going on. Let's do this thing. Here we go. All right, welcome back to the program, The Michael Duke Show. Good morning. Welcome to Monday. Now being joined by our guest on the program this morning, Spike Cohen former Libertarian VP candidate and activist all around, good cat. He comes on board this morning to talk with us a little bit about, I don't know, wood ticks, lunatics, politics, all the things you're never supposed to talk about. It's all those things and more. Spike Cohen joins us except he's muted. Spike Cohen joins us right now. Here we go. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks for having me on, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's a beautiful Monday, and you know how Mondays are. So it's rainy days and Mondays always get me down, except for when Spike Cohen's on. So, Spike, tell me what you've been up to here lately before we dive into the hot news of the day. What's the latest and greatest from you and from your folks over there?
Well, we have been incredibly busy with my organization, You Are the Power. We are finding people who are being abused by their local governments, and we are fighting to get them the respect and justice that they deserve. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to youarethepower.net and be a part of that. What we're actually working on this week, I will be headed tomorrow to Dartmouth University for a debate on gun rights with David Hogg. That's actually going to happen. That's going to happen on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is, I believe, 2 p.m. Alaska time. Am I correct?
That is correct. 2 p.m. Alaska time.
2 p.m. Alaska time. And if any of you decide you want to fly to Dartmouth, you certainly can. But if you say, no, I'm in Alaska, I don't think I'll be doing that. You can go to spikecohen.com/gun debate, and we'll be streaming it live there starting at 2 p.m. In your neck of the woods.
I mean, this is some exciting stuff. Hogg is not from his reading his writings, his Twitter feed, and the speeches that he's given, he's not a mental giant. So I think this ought to be an educational event, if nothing else, when you go sit down with him. Have you debated him before?
No, I've never, except for a very brief pre-planning session where we went over the debate rules and stuff. I've never actually spoken with David before that. So no, I'm going into this with the understanding that, David and many of his lost friends to in a school shooting back in 2018, and also was present there and survived and went through the trauma of that himself. And I believe that that David genuinely believes that what he's doing is right. I'm going to meet with him and to explain how gun control does not make us safer, and also is not going to hold up in court, because we have a natural right to keep and bear arms, which just so happens in this country to be affirmed and protected under the Second Amendment.
Right, exactly. No, I mean, I think that he believes all the stuff that he's espousing. I just don't think that I just don't believe that he has all the facts or has logically thought it all through. Let me just put it that way, with rational, logical thought and reasoning. Because you're right. I mean, they act like they just want to come in and take all this stuff away, and it's the government's right to do so, when these are rights that are enumerated, not granted by the government, but enumerated, meaning they're laid out, and it's like saying your birth certificate caused you to be alive, right? No,
right.
Your birth certificate enumerated the fact that you were born. That's what it's all about, so it's that same kind of thing. Now, your organization has done some great work. I've been kind of following it here since I think the last time we talked. You guys had gotten things off the ground and been running hard and talking about it. So give us some of the success stories that you and your organization have been working on, because you're working this is not like a big splashy, make the national headlines. You're fighting in the trenches down in local communities, and protecting people who are being, I guess, abused by the system would not be too harsh a term to put on it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what's happening. We're being abused by the system, and I can give you some very good examples. A lady in Indiana whose home burned down and had to live in a trailer that her insurance company gave her while she was waiting for the home to be rebuilt. The zoning board tried to take her property from her, using a really skewed reading of their zoning restrictions. And, we found out about it. We're able to put an end to that. We have had multiple instances in multiple states where people were feeding those in need out of their churches, or sometimes going to public places to do it, and they were threatened with jail time for continuing to feed people who needed it. We found out about it and got the government officials to back off of that. Most recently, we've been dealing with people whose children have been taken from them by their state's child protective services because their kids have chronic health conditions, and the officials don't want to acknowledge it because they want to get that federal money to seize kids and put them up for adoption, from even if they're having to take them from innocent parents. We've had some major successes there where parents who were not being allowed to see their kids are being allowed to see their kids again. And just last week, a family who was attempting to get their children back, where the husband and wife were not allowed to see or even speak with one another for the better part of 10 months. And thanks to the pressure from folks from all over the country, all over the planet, really, on this judge, the judge has backed off. And last week, they have been able to resume living together as husband and wife. So these are the kinds of, I like to say, this organization should not have to exist. When you hear about the kinds of cases and causes that we take on, every single one of them is so infuriating. And at no point does anyone ever say, "Oh yeah, I think the government should have done that." And yet it happens hundreds, thousands of times across the country every single year. So while these things are happening, we shouldn't have to exist. But if these things continue to happen, then we will continue our fight for freedom.
The name of the organization is You Are the Power. You can find it at youarethepower.net. And Spike, I mean, it's frustrating. The one that really specifically spiked my interest is because you're not the only one who's fighting this thing, is the organizations that are trying to feed people who are homeless and on the street. And a lot of times it's private organizations who are trying to do it, or churches and local communities. Instead of embracing this idea of this non-government solution to this problem, they're instead utilizing the bludgeon of government through zoning or through just arbitrary and capricious power to go down and smack these people down. Yet there is a problem in their community, and instead of letting the churches handle it, which is one of the reasons why many of these churches are supposed to get, like, tax deductions and all this other kind of stuff,
right?
They instead try and shut them down when they're just doing it out of the kind of just trying to help, just people trying to help people. And instead of giving them a pat on the back and an attaboy, they threaten to come in and, shut them down, take their church, find them out of existence, put people in jail. I mean, there's various communities that have done all those things. And it is just it is so alien. That whole thought process to me is so alien. It's crazy that this is what we're facing in our country today.
It is, and it's especially when you consider none of these in the cities that we've gotten involved in. It was not the public that wanted this. In fact, as soon as the public found out that it was happening, they rallied to the cause of these churches and nonprofits and charities that were doing the work. So not only would they rally to the local council meetings to tell them to back off and let them help people, they would now rally and show up at their feedings to help volunteer. They would donate money and come and help with distributing the food or cooking it or delivering it or whatever else the case may be that they needed help with. But the point is, the public, this was not about protecting the public. And the public didn't want this. They wanted for us to be able to help one another when one of us is in need. And in some cases, what we found out was that the reason that the city was suddenly putting pressure on the charities to stop feeding was because the government had recently made some contract with a larger charity or an out-of-state charity or a larger church to be the official contractor to do this work with taxpayer money. And they can't justify spending all that taxpayer money on it if a bunch of other people are doing it without any taxpayer money needed. So they were very often acting as a mob and basically threatening the competition if they were to continue to try to help people. And like you said, it is entirely insane and alien that someone would even have that thought process. But this is the problem with government. When you give government the authority to centrally plan a solution, very often the problem ends to them, the solution becomes, and But the problem becomes, anyone who doesn't comply with whatever they think their solution is. And we see that time and time again.
Well, this is the problem with government trying to pick winners and losers, right? Instead of letting
Yes.
the free market kind of solve the solution of people stepping up and doing their part and doing it voluntarily, they're going to pick the winners and losers. And if it's not their chosen winner out there, then they'll fight it tooth and nail. I mean, they'll threaten to jail people who are simply doing charity work. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of sense does that make? And I think part of this, Spike, goes back to the fact that we've been indoctrinated over the last 2-3 generations in our public schools that the only solution to every problem ends with government, right? I mean, government is the solution to every problem that we could possibly have. That's what we've been told. That's what we've been taught. And I think that's what we're going to continue to get. This is the kind of madness we're going to continue to get as we look to government to be the solution for every problem under the sun.
That's exactly this is the logical conclusion. If you were told that government is the solution to everything, then that means if someone tries to create a solution on their own or to help on their own, then they're part of the problem because only government can provide the solution. And so you getting involved on your own time and with your own money is actually just, part of the problem. And that is the logical conclusion. That's why You Are the Power decided to start doing this. Yes, we are immediately helping people who are in need. We are helping people who are having their lives destroyed because for just being completely innocent and doing nothing wrong, or in some cases having their lives destroyed because they tried to help other people. What we're also doing is showing the members of their community and the public at large that this is what happens when you give government this much authority. This is what happens when you don't expect government officials to respect us as individual human beings, the same way we would expect literally everyone who is not a government official to respect us as an individual human being. This is the end logical conclusion of that. And we pick these kinds of cases because basically no one thinks that this is justified. I've yet to meet anyone who says, yes, I think the government should take children from parents who did nothing wrong and place them for adoption and criminally prosecute innocent parents and withhold evidence in court that the kids aren't being abused and have a chronic health issue that needs to be addressed so that they can get more federal money and for themselves and for their agencies. I think that's a good thing. No one says that, right? So we pick obvious no-brainer causes because we're driving home the point that this is the logical conclusion of not demanding that you be respected as an individual human being and consistently giving more power and authority to government. This is what they will do with it.
Right. Well, and the one with the lady whose house burned down, she's living in a trailer, and now they're going to try and evict her and take the property because of a zoning issue. I mean, come on. What property owner in their right mind would go, oh, that's perfectly reasonable. That's perfectly. You've already had one tragedy struck. You've lost your whole house, and now you're living in a trailer. But you know what? Come on. Really? Come on. But this is the power of government. And this is the thing is that the government bureaucracy and everything else, they have this momentum and they just feel like they can do anything. And until somebody stands up and points it out, people just aren't even seeing it until it's pointed out. And then they're like, what? Wait a second. And then people stand up, like you said, with the food stuff where people all of a sudden decided to show up and help out. There's a lot of this going on across the country. These are not isolated incidences.
No, they're not. I mean, we had an instance in a town in Arizona where a 99-year-old man was living with his grandkids and great grandkids. He needed to be able to live with a family. He couldn't live completely on his own, but he was still able to get around enough so that he didn't need to go into any kind of nursing care or anything like that. He just needed to be with family. The thing that we used to do for hundreds of years, have your elders live with you, right? This was the norm back in, up until I guess maybe 1 or 2 generations ago. So anyway, he's living there. The local officials find out about it and they say, oh, no, you can't do that. There's an occupancy limit for your kind of home. And he's technically not considered your immediate family. He's your grandfather, not your father. And so they were trying to remove him from the home. And again, thankfully, we got involved and put an end to that. But the fact that they looked at a grandfather, a nearly 100-year-old man living with his grandkids and their children and said, no, this is a problem. lawlessness that's happening here. That this is what when you are a hammer, every problem is a nail, and or every person is a nail, and that's how government looks at us. They look at us as possible violators to be put in place.
It's insane, Spike. I mean, this kind of action, again, when it's brought to light, people are shocked. But the problem is that they're for every problem that you guys go in and help with and fix, there's probably a dozen more, maybe 100 more.
Oh, a 1,000 more. Yeah.
For everyone you bring to light, there's another 100 that people just don't know about because it's happening under the radar. And who can afford to fight Uncle Sugar, right? I mean, that guy's, they got deep pockets at every level. And who are we to fight the big machine? It's unfortunate that you are the power and other organizations have to come in and try and help, but how are we going to do it alone, right? Because they've got the unlimited funds and the resources and the power of government behind them. How are we supposed to fight that?
Well, and that's exactly the point of why we do what we do. Yes, we're helping these individual cases as we find them, and yes, we're playing this sort of endless game of government official whack-a-mole, where we hit as many as we can and try to get them to back off, and usually almost always have almost at this point well over a 90% success rate in doing so. But yes, there are dozens, hundreds, who knows how many more that we never find out about, or just don't have the resources to get involved in. But what we're also doing in helping these families is we're showing the public this is happening everywhere. And we can put an end to it, not just in these cases, but writ large. We can put an end to this by demanding respect across the board from government officials for us as individual human beings, and to not give them so much authority and power in the first place. That whenever they say we need more power to protect you from whatever, know that this is how they're going to end up using it, because when you give a kid a toy, they're just going to keep using it. And so when you give government officials more power, they're just going to keep using it, even when it's not necessary to do so, and especially when it's not necessary to do so. And yes, it is a bit of a game of whack-a-mole, but for these families and for these small businesses and these individuals that we're able to help, it's everything to them. It was the difference between their life being ruined and it not being ruined. So if nothing else, we do that. But in doing so, we're also driving home the message to everyone who hears about it that this is why we don't need to look to government for solutions. Government should be as small as humanly possible. And in anything we grant them the authority to do, they should be respecting us and looking at us as individual human beings, not as collectives, not as political props, but as actual human beings, the same way they look at their loved ones.
Spike Cohen is the founder of You Are the Power. It's a membership-based nonprofit that has a social media reach of over 50 million people and reaches into communities in all 50 states. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk with him a bit more about that, and then we'll move on to hour two. Spike Cohen, again, our guest, will return in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Spike Cohen is our guest. I don't know what's going on here this morning, but we'll get her figured out. All right, Spike Cohen is our guest here. We're in the commercial break, and we will be we'll be rejoining here in just a second. Again, I've posted a link up in the chat room to You Are the Power if you would like to be part of it and help out, to join the organization and to do all those things to help your local communities and other people across the country that are facing the same thing. Brian asked a question in the chat room, and I don't know if this was something that he knew you guys were working on, Spike, but he says, what is the latest on the Gaston, North Carolina with the dog shooting cops? Is that something that you've been working on?
Yes. So we had a situation. We first actually found out about it 2 years ago, where a homeless veteran who was wrongfully accused of committing a crime and assaulted by two police officers. They also tased his PTSD service dog. The dog, unfortunately, later passed away as a result of this whole interaction. They tried running up a bunch of, they ran up a ton of charges on him, and then they refused to release the body cam footage when they claimed he assaulted them and that they had done nothing wrong. But then they fought in court to keep the body cam footage from being released for obvious reasons because they didn't want people to see what actually happened. We got involved, and the result of that is that, first of all, the body cam footage was released. We actually put it on my YouTube channel where you can see it. He did. His name is Joshua Rohr. Joshua did absolutely nothing wrong. The police were railroading him. When it wasn't working, they started assaulting him. They tased the service dog for absolutely no reason. And also, as a result of that being released, all charges were dropped. What we are still fighting for is to one of the officers is now a federal agent, but the other one is still on the force, and we're fighting to get her removed. But the veteran himself, Joshua, is in a much better situation now. He is no longer homeless. The community really rallied around him to help him get back on his feet. He's been sober for quite some time now. Is financially self-sufficient and is in a much better place, and has another service dog as well. Her name is Justice. But we have certainly. We were a part of helping him get out of all of this trouble that they put on him, and he's in a much better situation thanks to the members of his community. But we are still fighting to try to get that officer removed. And a lot of the mayor, the man who was the mayor at the time, announced that he was not running for re-election, again for obvious reasons.
Oh man, we got to retell that story when we come back to the radio, because again, that's the kind of stuff we're seeing across the country. I mean, the brutality and the unaccountability of government officials, especially from the police, who's supposed to be they're supposed to be the line in the sand to protect the people. And
Yep.
instead, we're seeing it time and time again where they're abusing and usurping their authority. How dare you don't do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it? This is the kind of good stuff that we need to know about for sure. And he made it all the way up to the federal level. Well, I guess he's in good company.
Yeah.
Based on what we're seeing across the country right now, I guess he's in good company with that.
We aren't certain that they didn't hear about this story and then reach out to him to give him a job offer.
Right? He must have immediately gone to work at the ATF, because this is what they're famous for. You've got a dog? Boy, we'd like to shoot that dog right now. That's it 100%. What are some of the other things? Are you working here in the state of Alaska? Is there anything that we need to, and I don't want to go too deep into it if there is, because I'd like to bring it back when we get back to the radio, but anything you're working on in the state here?
As of right now, I don't know of any active causes we have in Alaska. I know that there's a lady, and her name is escaping me at the moment. This was about a year ago, where the police had taken her because she did a Facebook Live where she started speaking in tongues because she's a Christian, and the police there, I believe it was just outside of Anchorage. The police there were illegally ordered to put her on a hold and take her to a mental health facility where she was given drugs against her will. But my understanding is that all resolved, that they actually apologized and backed off for having ever done that. We're investigating why it ever happened. The name escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, it was a Matsu school teacher here in the Matsu borough, right in my own community. That's what that's what happened. And there was lots of talk where, again, she may be. There's been questions about the legal action and whether or not that's going to be brought up. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys find on that as well. And I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the national issues too, if you got a second, Spike, when we get back.
Sure. Absolutely.
We'll jump into that as well. Spike Cohen is our guest. You heard the ding. Yeah, Mary Fulp. That's her name. Thank you, Kevin. Mary Fulp is the teacher's name who was incarcerated. All right, we're going to return here. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Let's get to it. Here we go.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Enemy. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Dukes Show.
I resent that remark, or resemble that remark. I can't remember which one it is. It's one of the two. Anyway, welcome back to the program. We're continuing this morning with Spike Cohen, former Libertarian VP candidate, as well as founder of You Are the Power. You can find them at youarethepower.net. We were just talking about some of the other cases, including they're maybe trying to help out here with the Mary Fulp case here in the Matsu, the teacher who was arrested and then put on a psychiatric hold, given drugs and everything else when the troopers showed up. Remember that? It made the news here last year. I mean, that was some crazy stuff. But he was just telling me about another incident in Gaston, North Carolina, with a homeless veteran who was charged with all kinds of crazy stuff, but there was no body cam footage to back it up until there was body cam footage, thanks to Spike and the people at You Are the Power. Spike, tell us about that again real quick.
Yeah, so one of the first causes that You Are the Power worked on, this was a couple of years ago now, actually when we were first starting up as an organization, there was a homeless veteran by the name of Joshua Rohrer. And he had a PTSD service dog named Sunshine. He lived in Gastonia, North Carolina. And one day the Gastonia police came up and accused him of panhandling. They had no evidence of this. He was not panhandling. Some eyewitnesses who were there said, why are you bothering him? He's not doing anything. He hasn't been panhandling. He's literally just walking down the sidewalk with his dog, smiling and waving at people. And they told them to go away or they would arrest them. And which kind of gives you an idea of how this is going to go. They falsely accused him of that. They then proceeded to assault him and wrongfully arrest him. They then tased his service dog, Sunshine. Unfortunately, she later passed away. And then they put him in jail with a slew of charges. And apparently they had a history of railroading homeless people. And they thought they were going to get away with it like they always did. But then we found out about it. We got the body cam footage released that they had been fighting for months to keep from getting released. As soon as it got released, we put it on our YouTube channel so people could see exactly what happened. That created a public outcry once people saw that they had absolutely wrongfully accused him, that they absolutely had assaulted him and attacked Sunshine, that they absolutely had intimidated witnesses and told them to go away and refused to take their report, and that they had absolutely railroaded him with a bunch of bogus charges. As a result of that, the charges were dropped. And the mayor of the town, who up until that point had been speaking out against Joshua, announced shortly after that he was not going to be running for re-election. And Joshua, thanks to the incredible people in his community, he is back on his feet. He is financially self-sufficient, and he has another service dog as well. We are still fighting to get one of the officers removed from her position. Unfortunately, the other one who was involved, there were two officers involved. He's moved on to being a federal agent.
Again, better company, right? Because that seems like maybe he got the job offer after the YouTube video of the body cam footage went public.
Very possibly. Yeah, we might have helped him get a promotion there. Yeah.
Yeah, we need this guy on our team because, but yeah, I mean, they had accused this homeless vet of attacking them and assault and everything else.
Yep.
But then they stalwartly refused to provide the body camera footage, which, I mean, that doesn't stink to high heaven, at all, right? That they're going to accuse him of all these things. And you think that they'd be like, yep, this would be a slam dunk if you got body cam footage of it. But wait, you won't show it? What does that tell us? This accountability issue is a huge thing, Spike. And that's the problem with government, is that it is accountable to effectively no one in the immediacy. You can fight it. You can fight it like you guys do, like some people do when they go to court. But as I was saying earlier, government's got the deep pockets. They've got the deep pockets. They've got the power. They've got people whose full-time job it is to defend the government's position. And it makes it very difficult for the average citizen to try and fight back against these kind of injustices.
Yeah, it makes it essentially impossible for you to do it on your own, which is why we created You Are the Power, amongst many other reasons, is that we wanted to show people you on your own may not be able to do this, but we can do this together. And you and us working together have far more ability to fix these problems at their core than you may have ever realized. Government wants you to feel powerless. They want you to feel like not only are you dependent on them, but they want you to feel like if they do decide to, mess with you or give you a hard time or ruin your life, there's not really anything you can do about it. You might as well just comply and hope that you can get as much mercy as possible from them. But that's a lie. It's not true. When we work together, we can get these officials to back off and do the right thing, if for no other reason than political expediency. And so that's what we do across the country. Something with these body cams, when body cam technology first started coming out and proliferating, a lot of states, including North Carolina, said, okay, well, we'll allow these body cams, but there is going to be a legal process you have to go through to get them released. What that ended up turning into is they only use the body cam footage when it proves that they're right. Any other time, they will fight endlessly in court and make people run up thousands or even tens of $1,000s in legal fees to fight to get it released. And so what we are pushing for in all 50 states is that if body cam footage is contested by the party that is on the body cam footage, then it needs to be released. If they're saying they want it, because the officials will go to court and say, we can't release this because of Joshua Rohr's privacy. And Joshua Rohr is there saying, I want it released. So, what we want to do is say, if the person in the interaction says they want it released, then it should be immediately released. They shouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars in court or have to, fight the DA in court just to get body cam footage released.
Yeah, no, it is insane that that's what's going on. If you've ever, sometimes in my spare time, just to make myself heard, I watch the audit on YouTube. The guys who watch this kind of police overreach.
Oh, the police auditors, yeah.
The audit is, it's just so frustrating to watch, but it's eye opening as well. People who understand their rights and people who don't understand their rights, but to see the kind of abuse that we see at all levels, but especially. Like I said, the police are the ones that are supposed to protect us. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of times we need protection from the police. We're down to the last minute here or so. I was going to try and get into national stuff, but we kind of ran the clock out here, Spike. So final 90-second elevator pitch for You Are the Power. How could folks get involved? How can they help you out? What do we need to do?
Well, the number one thing you can do is go to youarethepower.net and sign up to become a member today. We'd love to have you be a part of it. You can also go to the causes page on You Are the Power, youarethepower.net/causes. Those are all our active causes that we are working on right now that have not resolved yet. And it has each page for each cause has all of the information you need on what officials to contact. We even give you a template of wording that you can use when you contact them. And you can be a part of getting us justice and respect for even more people than we already have. And if anyone wants to watch me explain to someone patiently why gun rights are good and why gun control doesn't work, go to spikecohen.com/gun debate. And on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Alaska time, you'll be watching me debate David Hogg on gun control.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I'll be watching it. Hopefully it'll be available after you guys do it because I'll be working, but
it will.
I definitely want to watch that as well. You versus David Hogg. I can't imagine. Oh, it's going to be juicy. All right. Well, Spike Cohen, thank you so much for coming on board and joining us this morning. I appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on again, Michael. And thank you guys for tuning in.
All right. Thank you so much, folks. We're done. The Michael Duke Show, hour 2 dead ahead. All right, Spike. Thank you so much. Spike Cohen, our guest. Again, You Are the Power. Okay. Okay. All right. We are ready to rock and roll. Lots of good stuff there. Is it Monday? Yes. Yes, it is Monday. Yes, it is a Monday. Hello, my friends. Let's get it going on here. What else we got? All right. Go back over here to the chat room. See what everybody's going over here. I don't know what happened with KFAR. I was connected, then I wasn't connected, then I was connected, and now I'm connected again. So thanks for the heads up on that, Randy. I appreciate it. Let's see. Apologized, said Jeannie, talking about the Mary Fulp incident. They better have apologized with a big fat check. Well, I think you're definitely, because they didn't follow the procedures as it was laid out. From what I recall, they didn't necessarily follow the procedures the way they were supposed to. It's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing. We'll see what's going on. Chris is going into the doctor's today. Well, Chris, you'll be in our thoughts. Going to the hospital today for a chemo port. Well, hopefully everything works out okay, my friend. You're in our thoughts here as we go through there. We appreciate you. Did he mention the Fairbanks food banks being made to pay property taxes for having a fundraiser? No, he didn't. But that's, we've been talking about that on and off here for the last few weeks. Maybe we should do a whole show on the, not the auditing department, the assessor's office. There we go. The assessor's office. Maybe we should have a discussion about that for sure. Once the bridge was built in Sitka, that nonsense ended. Harold said Sitka police used to stop us all the time as we grew up, walking to the store, walking to the school. Was it walking while native? Is that what the charge was? That kind of nonsense. That's the kind of nonsense. Kid is flying out to basic training. Congratulations to your boy going to Fort Jackson. There you go. Good for him. All right. So we're all caught up. How was your guys' weekend? I mean, overall, I didn't make it to the social on Friday night, the Libertarian social. Did anybody else go out there? I didn't make it but I did make it on Saturday. I was there for the lunch on Saturday, and we hung out and had a good time. It was a good discussion. A good discussion. So I love it. Love hearing what's going on out there. Okay. Brian says, on the Mary Fulp thing, he said, they'll just say, we will retrain and change our procedures, but they won't tell you what changes they made. Was there bacon at the lunch? No, but there was bacon over the weekend. I mean, a weekend with bacon? That's what you got to love, man. That's what you got to love. Absolutely. Tasty. What's a weekend without bacon? Yummy. My wife made me she made me a breakfast sandwich yesterday with an English muffin and a big sausage patty and the cheese and the egg, and it was... Now I'm hungry, man. Why'd you have to say bacon? Dang it, Greg. Messing me up, bro. All right. Just looking to see. I'm just looking to see some of the things here. I'm sorry. Just the do-goodery sometimes. The do-goodery among some of these people just makes my head explode. There's a bill. Andrew Gray put out a bill that would require businesses. We'll talk about it when we come back. We'll talk about it. I got things to say about this kind of stuff. And I just more and more people seem to want us to be California. That's the problem. More and more people seem to want us to join and be part of be just like California. And I'm not a happy man about that. We'll continue this discussion here in hour 2, and we'll hear what you guys have to say. All right, let's get to it, shall we? We're going to jump back in. Hour 2 is dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
Sounds just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, good morning. Welcome to hour 2 of the big radio show for today. It is Monday, and I think we're all back and live across the state on all the stations, including KFAR up in Fairbanks, which apparently was having a problem, but hopefully we got it all fixed. Fingers crossed that everything will hold together, baby. That's all we can do right now. We're keeping it real here this morning. Welcome to Monday. I hope that you had a great weekend and enjoyed yourself. I spent a little time with the folks at the Alaska Libertarian Party on Saturday. Had a great lunch and meet and greet with them, and enjoyed a little food and some good discussions. And I hope more of you got a chance to go out there over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to spend a little time with those folks. It was good. It was good stuff. We just finished up with Spike Cohen from You Are the Power, and that was a good discussion. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it on the podcast, which is available wherever you find great podcasts, including CastBox, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and, of course, Spotify, if you want to listen to that. Or you can just go back and watch it on the replay on Facebook or YouTube, either one of those. It really is. It's a really Monday. Yes, it is really Monday. So again, it's been a Monday of Mondays today already, and I'm ready for Friday already. What are we? 7:08 a.m. and I'm already ready for Friday. That's the kind of week it's been so far. What are we going to talk about in hour 2? Well, we got some stuff to go over, some stuff to deal with, including the latest on the House Finance's adoption of the overall budget. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the high school student walkout, because it was a great photo op. And also a new bill from our friend Andrew Gray. who is who continues to try and make us more like California on a daily basis. And what do I mean by that? Well, he said that the link between alcohol and cancer has been established by medical professionals since the 1980s, but the public is just not aware of that link. And so Andrew Gray has introduced House Bill 298, a bill that would require businesses that sell alcoholic beverages to post signs warning of the cancer link. The cancer message as proposed by the bill, according to the Alaska Beacon, would augment the currently required message warning that consumption of alcohol during pregnancy can cause birth defects. It has no sponsors in the House majority, and there is no Senate version of it. But Andrew Gray said that he had minimal expectations about its fate when he introduced it in January. He said he was surprised when the bill started to move. Lo and behold, we got a hearing. He said another hearing advanced from the House Health and Social Services Committee to House Labor and Commerce. He said that he's all about this, that he can't help, but he just wants to get it out there. The question is, again, what is the burden on the sellers and the retailers, and how many people are really watching and reading? I mean, look, they mandated that every pack of smokes had a thing on it that said this causes cancer, right? Every one of them. They've already got labels on all the bottles about not drinking during pregnancy. They've got this, they've got that. How much more regulation is required? How much more, what is the government's role in all this? How much obligation does the state have to tell people that the legal activities that they're doing could cause harm? That's really does this become people in the chat room help me out here. What was the California proposition that basically that mandated that anything that could cause cancer now has to have some kind of public warning? Wasn't it like Prop 53 or something in California, where now everything, the California has now deemed that this product can cause cancer? I mean, some of the craziest stuff. I saw it on the panel of an elevator or something. I saw a picture of it. Like it's everywhere. Everything causes cancer. And at what point does it become like, the Chicken Little, the sky is falling, everything? Then pretty soon nobody pays attention to it about anything. Dan Sadler said the question that comes to mind is, how much obligation does the state have to inform people of the risks of legal activity? The same arguments about alcohol's cancer-related risk warnings could be made for injury warning signs on bikes, cars, airplanes, roller skates. I mean, where does it stop? Where does it stop? Warning on food that this could make you fat? Warning on bags of coffee, or, watching this movie at loud volumes could damage your hearing, or, yeah, I'm wearing a headset. I wear this headphones every morning. So do I get warnings on my headphones now that it could cause me to go deaf if I don't follow the manufacturer's instructions I understand he's trying to do good here, but this is the problem with big government, overarching government overreach, is that you can't be all things to all people. And, it's just a warning sign. Well, yeah, but how much does it cost to have those warning signs? And what if you don't put the warning signs up, or they're in the wrong place, or they're not in a place that's visible? Now, do you get fined? Do you got people walking around who are the sign police telling you that you've got them in the right place or the wrong place, or what? We don't think about the unintended consequences of this kind of action. Sure, the ideal is, we'd love to have it do, but the question is, how much does all this, cost and how much of it is truly government responsibility. An amendment passed in the Health and Social Services Committee that seemed to simplify the measure may have created a hurdle, however. The amendment changed the on-site requirement from 3 signs, as currently is in law, to 2. Instead of requiring 2 separate signs warning against minors' unlawful entry and the use of alcohol, the bill is amended that would combine the warnings about minors into a single sign, replacing just 1 set of signs. The point of sale warning about health effects would cost under $10,000, too little to warrant a fiscal note describing the cost to the state. But replacing 2 types of signs with the new need it would cost around $25,000. So apparently the state's going to pick up the cost of the signs, but the people have to display. I mean, I don't need that much hand-holding, right? I know smoking a cigar is probably not great for me. I know eating too much rich food is probably not good for me. I know that drinking too much alcohol is probably not good for me. I mean, how much hand-holding do we need? I mean, I don't understand the justification for this. He said a constituent of his, a breast cancer survivor, brought up another concern. Although only a light drinker, he said she worried that she and others might be blamed for bringing their cancers on themselves. I mean, come on, people. Really? Oh, your drinking gave you cancer. I mean, who's going to say, I mean, that sounds like a little projection, right? That's something that they would say. I mean, madness. This is kind of madness. And now is it going to go anywhere? Probably not. But the fact that it would even be introduced and we're going to waste time on a bill like this where people already know, I mean, how many more of these do we need? I mean, how many more of these laws or these rules or what? How many more of these do we need? If you want to read the whole story, you can go over to the Alaska Beacon. Yareth Rosen has written this story out here from last Friday, and you can check it out. But again, how much hand-holding? How much hand-holding do we need on these kind of stuff? I mean, do we need sign police to go around and then check everybody? Or is it just like, well, no, we won't really do that. Then what's the point? If you're not going to have sign police that are going to go out there and check on people and then what is the point of mandating it? Well, it's just a mandate that we can hit them with later on if we need to. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But this is the kind of thing. That we're looking at from the folks who are currently in the spoons make you fat. You better label them. That's right. Do we put a label on spoon? Usage of this device could cause obesity. It's a spoon. I know, but it could potentially. I mean, they're not wrong. But do we need the government to tell us that the misuse of a spoon can cause obesity? Should we just label everything? Again, like California? It's insane. All right. We're going to continue on here. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. I've actually opened up the phone lines this morning. If you want to call in this morning and talk about whatever, feel free to do so. 433-3150, 907-433-3150. We'll be back with more right after this.
We're
broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. In the break. Ready to go. Harold says her daughter has a sign on her door. Radioactive. It's good to know. Whoops. It's good to know. Good to know. Caution. Listening to the Michael Duke Show could cause more liberty. Yes, sex causes babies. Obviously, we need a label. It's the do-goodery for do-goodery's sake. I mean, is this just virtue signaling? Does he really? Is this really government's job? Don't sit too close in front of your monitor. It can cause eye strain. Caution as you walk down the stairs. You could trip and fall and break something. I mean, don't drink too much coffee. What would that? I just don't even know. I just don't even know at this point. I mean, if so, Ben Carpenter says sex causes babies. Obviously, we need a label. Brian says, just where does that label go? And my question is, well, so then do you put labels on condoms that says this may prevent having babies? I mean, is it battling labels now? I mean, what? I just don't even know at this point, man. This world is mad. This world is madness. Crazy. Well, I told my middle daughter, Brian says, I told my middle daughter that everything was radioactive. 18 years later, she's still traumatized. Clearly not STEM material. Everything's radioactive. Yeah. Oh, man, I love Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts when they're quartered and roasted. A little bit of oil, a little salt and pepper, a little garlic in a roasting pan. Oof. So good. So good. I mean, why? This is Alaska. I mean, again, I could see this being proposed in California, but this makes no sense to me. Debbie says, items I see come in say something like, in accordance with the law, may cause cancer in the state of California, only in CA. It is odd. I mean, yeah, they got that thing where, and you see this label slapped on all kinds of stuff, like tennis shoes, and I mean, just crazy things. Like what? But don't worry. That's what we need. Just one more sign. We'll fix it all up there. Oof. I love Brussels sprouts when they're not on my plate, says Jim. That's fine. Give them all to me. I'll take all the Brussels sprouts that you don't want. Little bacon, little chicken broth. There's another way to cook them. A little chicken broth. Cook them up with the bacon grease. Oh, so good. So good. House education taking public testimony at 8 on charter school funding, says David. Nice. Charter school funding. 8 a.m. this morning. House education. Make sure you call up. Okay. Here we go. We're 20 seconds out. We're ready to jump back into it. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube-y things. And just another sign, like one that says gun-free zone. I mean, they work so well. So well. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Shall we? Shall we continue? I think we shall. I think we shall continue. I did open up the phone lines if there's anything you want to talk about this morning. 907-433-3150. Feel free to ring us up and talk about whatever you want to make your... Do you need a sign? Do you need a sign? Calling into the Michael Duke Show could be detrimental to your worldview. Maybe I should give you a sign. Hey, that's what I should do. That's the other one. All right. So that bill, I don't even know where it's going to go, but we'll see what happens to it. We talked a little bit about the high schoolers walking out of class to protest the governor's veto of education. I would be surprised that if you put 100 of them together in the room, if they could actually explain it to you. If they could actually explain what they're actually protesting against. Most of them are calling it the BAS, not even the BSA. I mean, if they can't understand even the basics of the conversation, is it real or is it, and it's the group tactics. There's a picture inset here in one of these things. Rachel Wood, a Juneau Douglas high school student, challenges the state legislators who voted to uphold Governor Dunleavy's education funding veto to come out of their offices at the Capitol and explain themselves. And then they walk the halls. They mob the hallways because, that's okay. A security guard looks on as high school students crowded into the Capitol lobby and made their way through the hallway. I mean, that's okay. No big deal. Just don't worry about it. It's all these kids storming the state capitol to demand they explain themselves in education funding. Okay. All right. I mean, these are the same kids that can't drink, can't vote, can't buy smokes, can't get a tattoo, can't do anything except change their gender. That's the only thing that they're really allowed to do because, everything else they're just too young for. They don't have the world experience. They don't have all the knowledge, but we're going to go ahead and listen to them on this one thing. And that's great. That's great. Good job. Good job. Good job weaponizing your kids and using them as political tools. I think that's just probably one of the most despicable things I've ever seen. But, other than that, great. Now, is that to say that every one of those kids is, no, there's probably one or two in there that actually understand what's going on. But, they're joiners. It's all part of the crowd, right? They're all moving forward. What was here's the story that I wanted to talk about. Here is the story that I wanted to talk about. Oh, by the way, people in Fairbanks, if anybody this is for the folks in Fairbanks, if anybody, or if you know someone who owns a Airbnb or a bed and breakfast or something like that would like to have a relationship with the show, have them send me an email, me@michaeldukeshow.com. Anybody that's got a bed and breakfast or an Airbnb or something like that would like to have a relationship with the program, send me an email, me@michaeldukeshow.com. There you go. There's right there. I meant to mention that earlier in the hour, and it's Monday. I forgot. Okay. So Alaska is in a bit of a conundrum. According to information presented to the State House Finance Committee on Monday, Alaska is having a difficult time attracting employees, and the state government is not immune to that either. Although I don't know if this really is a new problem or this has been part of an ongoing problem, because we've talked about this for years. Rep. Julie Colomb of Anchorage proposed a budget amendment that would return $44 million to the state budget currently set aside for staff vacancies. That's just about half of the $89 million that affects the state's unrestricted general fund, she said. The overall cost across all funds is over $200 million. That's the that is the funded but unfilled positions in the state account for $200 million. The amendment would allow departments to choose where they want to make the cuts. But it essentially is it is basically cutting the money from the unfilled positions, the funded but not filled positions. Colomb was quoted as saying it would help departments zero in on exactly what they really need so we know exactly how much overtime is happening. If it's not overtime again, if they have to come back and say we need this, let's put it on the path to transparency. The Department of Corrections, with 2,100 vacant budgeted positions, would lose the most at about $11 million. 2,100 vacant positions. Alexi Painter, director of the Legislative Finance Divisions, said vacancies are often filled with overtime paid at time and a half or twice the regular rate. So when they've got vacancies, they're using all that money to then pay the people who are remaining time and a half or double time. The money from vacant positions has gone into the state's constitutional budget reserves, according to Painter. The amendment that she put up there failed 6-5. Because a Painter said, for example, in FY24, they have their actually projected expenditures on the personnel services line are $15 million more than they're budgeted because of that overtime. So while there's savings from the positions being vacant, they have to make it up at a higher cost in those cases. So the amendment failed 6-5. We shouldn't unfund the unfilled positions, even though, you know what there should be a study of how long those positions have been unfilled. And maybe we should address that in the regular pay of the employees who are there. And if they are continually filling in, maybe we should just up their pay instead of, having all this overtime and everything else. Or state government is not the only sector facing a shortage of workers. Last week, the Department of Workforce and Labor Development announced Workforce 2030, which is a plan to address the state's more than 10,000 unfilled jobs. Alaska's 11-year streak of net migration losses is the longest in state history, according to the department. Alaska's workforce participation rates decreased from 67 to 65. Working-age residents declined over the past decade by 30,000 people. But just keep filling up those vacancies. Just keep sending that money to those vacant positions because they need to use it somewhere else. I got no words at this point, people. I have got no words on what's going on with that. And the fact that it failed in a 6-5 vote just kind of tells me everything that I need to know at this point. I mean, it would have saved $44 million. Would it have cost some money on the other side? Potentially. But at least it would be a true reckoning of where the monies are coming from and what they're actually being spent on. And again, why hasn't there been a study or an analysis of how long some of these positions, if a department has had an open position for 5 years and they keep getting the funding for those positions for 5 years, even though they're not filled, maybe we ought to rethink what we're doing. Maybe we ought to reconsider that whole thing right there. That would make sense to me. But no, we couldn't. Again, this is something that's been going on for years. I remember Tammy Wilson trying to get the actual numbers of funded but unfilled positions. I mean, there's a couple thousand of them, 2,000 or 3,000 of them, from what I recall. And again, they're saying that the unfilled positions in the state jobs, not funded but just unfilled, right? They may or may not be funded. 10,000 unfilled jobs at the state level. 10,000. Well, there's 27,000 state employees. So we could increase the states by a quarter. A quarter of the what? Ben Carpenter asks in the chat room, is there an incentive to hire for positions for which current employees benefit with overtime pay? That's a good question. If all the current employees are getting juicy overtime, why would they want to fill that position? Because remember, many of their retirements, depending on which tier that they're in, is dependent, their final retirement pay number is dependent on their highest 3 years. So if they can get a bunch of juicy overtime in the final 2 or 3 years, I mean, how does their retirement look in the end? I mean, it's crazy. Where is the incentive to hire when you're getting big money on the overtime pool? And again, where's the analysis of how long these positions have been empty? If you have been providing adequate services, in a state department, if the department has been hitting its goals as far as adequate services and providing what's needed and doing all that, and yet they've had 5 positions that have been unfilled for more than, 3 years or something, then maybe there needs to be a rejiggering of what goes on in that department. But there's just no one. It's just, we'll fund it. It's an unfilled position, but if you've been funding an unfilled position for 3, 5, 8, 10 years and nobody's there, then it's just a slush fund, people. Then it's just extra funding to do with what they. This is fine. No, this is fine. Fine. Just fine. Don't worry about it. This is fine. Nothing to see here. Move along. Nothing to see here. Just move along. All right. We're coming up on the break, and then we'll have one final segment to talk about the new budget that just came out of House Finance. And the phone lines are open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. We'd love to hear what you have to say today. Feel free to wrangle us up and hit us with it. We'll be back in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Don't you just feel like that, though? This is fine. I mean, this is just so normal. So normal. Donna Ardwin is telling me that some of the positions are 10 years old. They have been funding those unfilled positions for 10 years or more. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this? Julie Colombe's amendment was also equivalent to the amount of personnel services funding that lapsed last year. This was monies that were going to lapse back into the constitutional budget reserve, right? Is that right, Ben? Is that where they were going to, that's where they were going to lapse back into? Because I think that's how they were explaining it. Where is it? Julie Colombe proposed a budget amendment that would return $44 million to the state's budget currently set aside for staff vacancies. That's just half of the $89 million that affects the state's unrestricted general fund. Now, where was the comment here? Where it says it goes into the constitutional. The money from vacant positions has gone into the state's constitutional budget reserves, according to Painter. So that's monies that the money that has lapsed from vacant positions has gone into the CBR, which I mean is great. But why don't we just not appropriate it to begin with? That's my bigger question. Why do we just not, why do we just not do it? I mean, Ryan says it's not a slush fund. They have to use that money to pay the new employee for the 10 years of work they'll do in year one. Right. It's not just, they've been holding that back. Sometimes what we do here, it just gives me a migraine. Let me just put it that way. I get so agitated by the end of the show. I'm exhausted. I still got to face a full day of work, and I'm just exhausted. Can't do it. Can't read, can't math. Kev, most dangerous words in aviation? Watch this. The most dangerous words in the legislature? I have an idea. That is the truth right there. That is the truth. What was that? I can make this sticker, says Sourdough Steel. I can make stickers and signs, just say the word. I think he was talking about when they said, caution, the Michael Duke show causes an increase in liberty. That's actually not a bad sticker, quite honestly. That's actually not a bad sticker. That would be a good one. I mean, if the show hurts your feelings, is it assault radio? We can live with that. So the eclipse, when does the eclipse happen today? When does the eclipse? When is the solar eclipse 2024? When will the eclipse be visible? Well, we're not going to see a total eclipse anyway. 11:07 a.m. The eclipse will begin in Mexico before crossing into Texas at 1:27 p.m. It will end in Maine at 3:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So by 11:35 this morning, the eclipse will have passed all the way across the United States. So, and it's way far away. I wonder what it's going to look like for us. It'll be interesting to see, depending on where we are. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like. Anyway. Assault penguins. I'm hours behind. Yeah, because I really don't care about it. That was the thing. I didn't even know. I knew that there was an eclipse coming, but I'm not a Mayan, so I don't live by that kind of stuff, Harold. Sorry. It's been going on. Okay, great. Let people see. Let people see. Okay. Well, we're 30 seconds out. That's what the ding means. We're ready to go here. We're going to rack things up. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Tomorrow, Brad Keithley, Chris Story comes on Wednesday. It'll be Mike Shower. And I'm working on I already got somebody. I have to look at my calendar. We'll figure it out. But we will continue in just a moment. Right after this. Don't go anywhere. Let's do it. Okay. Wrapping things up for today. One final segment. The phone line is still open if anybody wanted to sound off this morning, although I got plenty of stuff to go over here today. But feel free if you want to sound off on any of the madness that we've talked about this morning, from the unfilled positions to the labeling of the liquor to the whatever, the kids out of school protesting the kids being out of school. We'll see what happens. Let me go over to the final story. The final story. Now, I don't know exactly what the phones are busy. Kevin just told me the phones are busy. Kevin, feel free to call in on the secret squirrel number if you want to call in there. If you have something you want to say, I'd love for you to sound off on that. He says the phones are busy, it's Monday. So not surprising that the phones are busy because it's a Monday, and that just means one more thing is broken. That's the way today has been. One more thing is broken for sure. All right. Let's continue on. So, two different stories covering the same topic, and each one has a different number. And I don't know exactly which is which, but maybe we can figure it out here. The KTUU story says that the House Finance has adopted a draft operating budget with a $2,272 PFD, essentially $2,300. But the Alaska Beacon says that the new spending plan has a $2,700 PFD. So I'm not exactly sure which one and what accounts for what, but we'll find out here. Rep. Kevin McCabe is actually on the phone with us right now. Let's see what he has to say. Good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
It's Monday. I'm almost ready for it to be over already. You know how it is.
Yes, I do. And we're going into budget week. It should be great fun.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about the unfilled, the PCNs, what they call the personnel control numbers. We call them PCNs, but those are the positions. I put in a bill, HB 173, which would change the limit before you had to go into Davis-Bacon and engineering on construction projects from $25,000 to $150,000. And I got a fiscal note back of almost $1 million, and they said, well, there's 7 PCNs that will be affected, and we'll have to, they're funded by receipts, and we'll have to fund those out of the general fund. So that's how much a small word change in regulation or in statute would cost, is $1 million for these PCN things. So it's kind of interesting to see when I talk to the Department of Labor, who would, they would be the ones affected. A significant chunk of the people I was talking to were union folks, and that was a little bit of a struggle for me to see that they're sort of weaponizing if you will, the fiscal notes, trying to get us to back off of a bill, that would affect the unions. So it's kind of an interesting use of the personnel.
So
realm.
their justification is that if you did that, if you pushed the threshold from $25,000 on a job to $100,000, that's when it would tick over to Davis Bacon. They're saying that if you do that, then people who work for the state government would not be funded because the monies come from the Davis Bacon wages. Or explain that to me.
No, the monies come from the permitting that the state gets for these jobs. So apparently, if I push the money from 25,000 to 150,000, before they needed permits and all, engineering and Davis Bacon wages, they would lose that amount of money in permitting, almost $964,000. So they would have to, and they claim that those receipts from the permitting are what pay for those PCNs.
Well,
so
let's put that on its head. Let's turn that on the other side. So what you're saying is jobs that are less than $100,000 are shouldering a burden of over $1 million in permitting for these smaller jobs. Just think of what that money could do in the private economy if these private companies were not having to go beg the government permission to actually do work.
Right.
I mean, I would have fought for that all the way anyway, because again,
right,
you're talking about more it's regulatory overhead. That's exactly what it is.
Of course.
That's $1 million that the job could have been cheaper. That money could have been used for other things, and instead of this malinvestment in government of continuing to fund a government job that it probably would also reduce the workload. How many jobs are between $25,000 and $100,000 that then wouldn't need to be overseen? So maybe you could reduce the number of PCNs required in that. Maybe you could save some money there. I mean, I don't see that as a bad thing per se. I understand what you're saying about, kind of weaponizing the fiscal note to say, well, if you do that, it's going to cost you, kind of thing. But
right.
I just don't see that as being a negative, Kevin.
Sure, and that was my first response to them. My response back was, "This is great. I can reduce some PCNs here and save the state money." And they didn't like that too much.
Yeah, of course they don't. I mean, because you called their bluff on it, and again,
right.
Another $1 million a year that could be saved by local businesses, and again, not begging the government's permission to try and do the job that you've been hired to do.
Right, and we've known this. The PCNs and the personnel were a problem, funded but not filled. Have been a problem for years. In fact, Bart LeBon, the first year I was down here, had a bill to limit the amount of time that a PCN could be open to. I think it was a year. Thinking that sometimes it takes a year to find somebody from the lower 48 or wherever to fill the position. But if it was open for more than a year, it would go away and the money would automatically revert back to the general fund. And that went exactly nowhere.
Well, I mean, it should. I mean, again, Donna Arduin just pointed out that several of these, or I don't know if she said several, a lot of these positions, I'm looking for the actual verbiage, but some of the positions are they have been held open and funded for 10 plus years. I mean,
right. Crazy, right?
If you have gotten along in whatever department they are, whatever department they're in, if you have gotten along for 10 years and you're providing an adequate service and you've been doing it for 10 years, probably those positions are really not required at this point.
Right. But then all the money for the overtime would go away. So we can't do that for goodness sake.
Right. And again, where's the impetus to try and hire these filled positions when the people who are there are getting OT for it? Right.
Right. Sure.
Go ahead.
And the overtime is what they use for their high three, right? So that's the big draw for that.
Yeah. No, again, that's what I was saying earlier, that most people don't understand that you get depending on which tier you're in, but the juiciest one is the tier 1. You get 60% of your highest 3 average of your highest 3 earning years. So if you made $100,000 a year for the 3 highest years of you would make $60,000 a year for the rest of your life in retirement. That's a pretty good kick. You know what I mean? That's not a bad deal. Kevin, I don't even know what to say to this. I'm just so frustrated by this. Because we've been talking about this for years. We've been talking about the unfilled positions, the funded but unfilled positions for years on this program. And everybody just looks at you like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Maybe we should. I would love to see a study, Kevin, that shows exactly the breakdown of because did they give you an actual number when they were discussing this? Was there an actual number of funded but unfilled positions floated around?
Yeah, I'm not sure I remember what it was. It seems to me it was close to 2,000, maybe 2,200.
Yeah.
So, Ben probably knows better than I do. I think LBNA is looking at it as well as Julie on finance. So they're pretty deep into it. I've had my focus in other places. So
yeah, 2,000 is about, I think that's the number that Tammy Wilson came up with before she left the legislature, because she was doggedly on this at the time. And 2,000 unfilled positions that are funded. But again, the State Department of Labor says that there's actually 10,000 unfilled positions in state government. I mean, how many that would increase the size of the person. That would be like a 25% increase in personnel if they filled all those positions. How are they going to pay? How are they going to pay for all that?
Your PFD.
And then some. Because if only 2,000 of the 10,000 unfilled positions are currently funded, what's it going to cost to fund the other 8,000 people?
Right. Yep. It's the impetus to have a larger government to take care of your every need in Alaska is the push is amazing. You see it every day on the floor. They just want and want. And, at one point I said, show me the money. And of course, then Andrew Representative Gray had to make a parody out of that. So I sort of quit saying that, but it's absolutely true. Where's the money going to come from?
Well, and that's the question that Brad asks all the time. Who pays? Who pays, right? That's what it's all said and done. All right, Kevin. Hey, a quick question. Since I'm getting these conflicting numbers, which number is right? Which one did the House adopt? Did they adopt the 2272, or is it 2700, or what is the actual number that came out of the House Finance Committee?
If I remember right from the briefing that we had, the actual PFD itself was a little bit north of 1,700. And then you had 500 of that energy payment to that. The what do they call it? The waterfall from last year.
Right.
And you come up with 2,200. I think what happened is probably James Brooks took that 2,200 and added the 500 again.
I see.
To come up with 2,700.
Okay. That was my confusion, because he doesn't break it down in the article. So I was trying to figure out what was energy payment, what was actual PFD, and more. So, all right. Well,
right. And it's important for Alaskans to know, because it will make a difference in their taxes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, Kevin. Well, thanks for calling in this morning. I appreciate the insight on that. Appreciate you being part of it today. All right, folks. Well, we're out of time for today. I would go through all the rest of it. We'll go through the rest of this tomorrow. And I'm sure Brad Keithley will have something to say about the House's new proposed budget. We'll be back then. Chris Story, Brad Keithley tomorrow, Mike Shower on Wednesday. Again, if you own a B&B or an Airbnb in Fairbanks and you'd like to work with the show, send me an email, me@michaeldukeshow.com. Gotta fly. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Okay. All right. I think that pretty much wraps up everything I got going on for today. Appreciate you guys coming in and joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.